Welcome to True Crime Case Files, the podcast that delves into the most intriguing and complex criminal investigations. In today's episode, we uncover the shocking conclusion to a years-long manhunt. Our story begins in Omaha, Nebraska, in February of 1999. Grace McDonald, a 33-year-old married mother of two, was the victim at the center of this harrowing tale. Grace was a familiar face to many in her community as she worked as a cashier at Hobby Lobby. Her kind and friendly demeanor made her a beloved figure among her colleagues and customers alike. Grace had dreams of furthering her education and providing a better life for her children. She yearned for opportunities to expand her knowledge and skills, hoping to secure a brighter future for her family. Despite the daily challenges she faced, Grace remained a devoted wife to her husband, Lewis, and mother to her children, Kayla and Jackson, always putting her loved ones first. Her family and friends held her in high regard, cherishing the moments they shared together. Grace's warm smile and compassionate nature left a lasting impact on those fortunate enough to cross paths with her. As the calendar turned to February 1999, the nation was captivated by several notable events. The impeachment trial of President Bill Clinton dominated the headlines, gripping the nation's attention. In Omaha, the bitter winter cold enveloped the city, with temperatures dropping to record lows. The local news reported on the struggles faced by the community, as families battled to stay warm and safe during this frigid season. And it was in this backdrop of real-life events that tragedy struck, forever altering the lives of those close to Grace McDonald. On a bitterly cold and unforgiving day in February of 1999, the quiet city of Omaha, Nebraska was about to be shaken to its core. It was a day that would forever be etched in the memory of Lewis McDonald, a hard-working man who would become entangled in a web of darkness and despair. Lewis, a devoted husband and father, had left for work that morning, bidding farewell to his loving wife, Grace McDonald. Grace, a 33-year-old woman with dreams of a brighter future, had found solace in her job as a cashier at the local Hobby Lobby. She was known for her kind and friendly demeanor, always bringing a smile to the faces of those she encountered. As the day wore on, Lewis couldn't shake a feeling of unease that settled deep in the pit of his stomach. Something felt amiss, but he couldn't quite put his finger on it. Little did he know that his worst nightmare was about to become a chilling reality. When Lewis returned home that evening, exhaustion weighed heavily upon him. The bitter cold had seeped into his bones, leaving him yearning for the warmth and comfort of his own bed. But as he entered the modest brick house that he and Grace called home, a scene of horror awaited him. There, in their once peaceful bedroom, lay Grace's lifeless body. The room was shrouded in an eerie silence, broken only by Lewis's anguished cry. He rushed to her side, desperately hoping that this was all just a terrible nightmare. But the cold touch of her skin and the lifeless gaze in her eyes confirmed the unthinkable. In a state of shock and disbelief, Lewis immediately reached for the phone and dialed 911. His trembling voice relayed the unimaginable to the emergency operator, who dispatched law enforcement to the scene with utmost urgency. As the news of Grace's tragic demise spread throughout the community, a cloud of sorrow descended upon Omaha. Neighbors whispered in hushed tones, their voices filled with a mixture of grief and fear. The once idyllic streets of the city now bore the weight of a haunting mystery, leaving its residents on edge. The investigation into Grace's murder became the talk of the town. The authorities meticulously combed through every inch of the crime scene, collecting evidence and analyzing the smallest details. Detectives interviewed friends, family, and co-workers, hoping to unravel the enigma that had shattered the McDonald family's lives. The Omaha Police Department responded swiftly to Lewis' distress call, dispatching a team led by Sergeant Pontowski and Detective Devano. Upon arrival, the investigators were greeted by a chilling crime scene that would challenge their skills and determination. Bloodstains splattered the walls and bed sheets, bearing witness to the violent struggle that had taken place. Grace had been ruthlessly murdered, a single gunshot wound to her chest serving as a grim testament to the brutality of her demise. Sergeant Pontowski and Detective Devano meticulously combed through every inch of the crime scene, their every move captured by the flashing cameras of the attending media. As they meticulously collected evidence, they paid close attention to the smallest details, determined to leave no stone unturned in their pursuit of justice. The investigators meticulously photographed the crime scene, documenting the position of every item, every bloodstain, and every potential clue. They bagged and labeled each piece of evidence, ensuring a meticulous chain of custody. The investigation team also interviewed neighbors and potential witnesses, hoping to glean any information that could shed light on the events leading up to Grace's tragic end. They canvassed the area, seeking surveillance footage from nearby businesses, hoping for a glimpse of the perpetrator. The entire city of Omaha was on edge, gripped by fear and curiosity as the investigation unfolded. As the days turned into weeks, the police painstakingly analyzed the evidence, consulting with forensic experts and utilizing cutting-edge technology to uncover any hidden truths. They tirelessly pursued every lead, following a web of clues that seemed to grow more complex with each passing day. In the midst of their investigation, the police discovered a possible motive, a secret affair that Grace had been involved in. Rumors swirled and local news outlets dedicated airtime and column inches to the shocking murder of Grace McDonald. And so, the investigation continued, the police inching closer to the truth with each passing day. The city of Omaha held its breath, anxiously awaiting the resolution of this harrowing case. The primary suspect in the murder of Grace McDonald was her own husband, Lewis McDonald. Lewis, a former combat medic who had served in the Gulf War, had a troubled past that raised suspicions among the investigators. As the police delved deeper into the case, they discovered a series of unsettling facts that pointed towards Lewis as the perpetrator of this heinous crime. During the course of the investigation, the police meticulously examined Lewis's background, searching for any clues that could shed light on his potential motive. They discovered that Lewis had a history of violent behavior, including incidents of domestic abuse. This raised concerns about the nature of his relationship with Grace and whether it could have played a role in her untimely demise. The authorities also uncovered evidence that Lewis had been struggling with financial difficulties. He had been facing mounting debts and was unable to provide the kind of life that Grace had envisioned for their children. This financial strain, coupled with the pressure to live up to societal expectations, could have potentially pushed Lewis to commit an act of desperation. Furthermore, the investigators discovered that Lewis had a fascination with true crime stories and had been following high-profile murder cases in the media. They found a collection of newspaper clippings and books about famous criminal investigations in his possession. This raised suspicions that Lewis may have been influenced by these stories, leading him to commit a violent act himself. Despite the mounting evidence against him, Lewis maintained his innocence during the police interrogation. He appeared calm and collected, denying any involvement in his wife's death. However, the investigators were convinced of his guilt based on the circumstantial evidence they had gathered. Unfortunately, before Lewis could be brought to trial, he vanished without a trace. The media frenzy surrounding the case only intensified, with news outlets speculating on his whereabouts and possible motives for his disappearance. The police launched an extensive manhunt, but Lewis remained elusive, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions. The evidence against him, including his troubled past, financial difficulties, and fascination with true crime stories, painted a compelling picture of a potential motive. However, with Lewis's disappearance, the case took an unexpected twist, leaving the authorities grappling with the challenge of bringing him to justice. In the quiet and affluent neighborhood of Bal Harbour, Miami, a tragedy unfolded that would leave the community in shock. Grigory Araktian, a Russian-Armenian minerals tycoon, met a gruesome end when he was thrown off the balcony of his luxurious condo. This incident, which occurred on the evening of May 22, 2005, sent shockwaves through the city and sparked a high-profile investigation. Grigory Araktian, 57, lived a double life that few were aware of. While he was a prominent figure in the world of mineral trading, his secret existence in Miami's gay nightlife scene was a well-kept secret. Unbeknownst to many, Grigory had even made appearances in gay adult movies under the pseudonym Benny Stardust. This revelation added a layer of complexity to an already mysterious case. The police turned their attention to Grigory's semi-public boyfriend, Kevin Suarez Vasco, a 22-year-old college student. As investigators delved into the details of their relationship, they uncovered a web of secrets and conflicting narratives. Kevin, a seemingly ordinary young man with dreams of becoming a lawyer, now found himself at the center of a high-profile murder investigation. The investigation took a twist when surveillance footage from the condo's security cameras revealed a heated argument between Grigory and Kevin just hours before the fatal incident. The footage showed the two engaged in a passionate exchange, their voices filled with anger and frustration. This newfound evidence raised questions about the nature of their relationship and the events leading up to the tragic balcony fall. Despite the mounting evidence against Kevin, he maintained his innocence, claiming he had nothing to do with Grigory's death. The case quickly became a battle of conflicting narratives, with the police presenting a compelling case against Kevin, while he argued for his innocence. On a day in May of 2005, The dedicated detectives working on the case of Grigory Araktian made a significant breakthrough. Their relentless pursuit of justice had led them to a secret blog, a digital diary that held the key to unraveling the mysteries surrounding both victims. The blog, hidden in the depths of the internet, was a treasure trove of information. It was a window into the private life of Grigory Araktian, shedding light on his relationships, his secrets, and his untimely demise. The police, armed with this newfound knowledge, embarked on a meticulous analysis of the evidence, determined to uncover the truth. As they delved deeper into the blog, the detectives discovered a series of cryptic messages and coded entries. They painstakingly deciphered each one, connecting the dots and piecing together a timeline of events. The blog revealed Grigory's involvement in Miami's vibrant gay nightlife scene, where he had a secret existence under the alias Benny Stardust. The investigation took an unexpected turn when the detectives stumbled upon a reference to a May 22nd gathering at a popular nightclub, known for its pulsating beats and eclectic crowd. This gathering, attended by Grigory and his semi-public boyfriend, Kevin Suarez Vasco, became a focal point of the investigation. The detectives meticulously combed through surveillance footage from the nightclub, analyzing every frame for any sign of suspicious activity. They scrutinized the movements of every individual, searching for a clue that could link them to Grigory's tragic fate. The footage revealed a heated argument between Grigory and an unknown man, adding a new layer of intrigue to the case. With this newfound lead, the detectives intensified their search for the unidentified man. They reached out to the public, releasing composite sketches and appealing for any information that could help identify him. The media picked up on the story, broadcasting the sketches and urging viewers to come forward with any relevant information. Days turned into weeks, and the investigation gained momentum. The detectives received numerous tips and leads, each one meticulously followed up. They interviewed witnesses, combed through phone records, and analyzed financial transactions, leaving no stone unturned in their relentless pursuit of justice. Finally, after weeks of tireless investigation, a breakthrough came. A witness came forward, providing a crucial piece of information that led the detectives to a potential suspect. Armed with this new lead, the detectives prepared to make their move, inching closer to solving both the cases of Grace McDonald and Grigory Araktian. Now, we uncover the truth behind the chilling murders of Grace McDonald and Grigory Araktian as the focus of the police's attention turned to Louis McDonald, a man with a troubled past and a sinister motive. Louis McDonald, a combat medic who served in the Gulf War, had a connection to both victims that was hidden in the shadows. It was discovered that Louis had been Grigory's private nurse and lover. This revelation sent shockwaves through the investigation, as it became clear that Louis had orchestrated Grigory's murder to inherit a staggering $2 million. On that fateful day in May of 2005, Louis's greed consumed him. He meticulously planned the murder, using his medical knowledge to ensure a swift and undetectable end for Grigory. The scene was set at Grigory's Bal Harbour condo, a luxurious residence overlooking the shimmering Atlantic Ocean. The tranquil setting would soon become the backdrop for a heinous crime. As the clock struck midnight, Louis made his move. With calculated precision, he approached Grigory from behind, seizing the opportunity to push him off the balcony. The violent act sent shockwaves through the community, leaving everyone wondering who could commit such a brutal crime. The Miami police tirelessly worked to unravel the truth. They combed through the evidence, meticulously reconstructing the events leading up to Grigory's murder. Their efforts were not in vain, as they discovered a secret blog that shed light on both Grigory's case and the unsolved murder of Grace McDonald. This breakthrough led the investigation back to Louis McDonald, who was now the prime suspect in both cases. The police interrogated Louis once again, this time armed with the newfound evidence. His anger and frustration were palpable as he vehemently denied his involvement in the crimes. But the weight of the evidence against him was overwhelming. On a scorching hot and humid day in June of 2005, the final chapter of a gripping true crime saga unfolded in Miami. The relentless pursuit of justice had led the authorities to the doorstep of Louis McDonald, the prime suspect in not one, but two shocking murders. Louis, a former combat medic and husband of the late Grace McDonald, had managed to evade capture for years. But the determined efforts of the police, combined with a breakthrough in the investigation, finally brought him to justice. The arrest took place in Louis's modest Miami apartment, a nondescript building nestled in the heart of the city. The authorities, armed with a warrant, approached the door cautiously, knowing that Louis had proven himself to be elusive and potentially dangerous. As they entered the apartment, The officers were met with a scene of quiet surrender. Lewis, a man once known for his calm demeanor, now stood before them, his face etched with a mixture of shock and resignation. The weight of his crimes had finally caught up with him. The arrest was not without its share of drama. News of Lewis's capture spread through the media, captivating true crime lovers. Television networks updated their viewers, while newspapers published stories detailing the events that had unfolded. The families of both Grace and Gregory, including Grace's children Kayla and Jackson, now teenagers, though still grappling with the immense grief caused by the loss of their loved ones, found some solace in the fact that justice was finally served. Their tireless pursuit of answers had paid off, and they could now begin the long process of healing. As Lewis was led away in handcuffs, the community breathed a collective sigh of relief. The once elusive murderer would now face the full weight of the legal system. The trial that followed would be closely watched by the public, eager to see justice served and closure brought to the families affected by these heinous crimes. In the end, the arrest of Lewis MacDonald marked the conclusion of a captivating true crime story. It served as a reminder that, even in the face of immense tragedy, the relentless pursuit of justice can ultimately prevail. In the courtroom of Miami's Dade County Courthouse, the trial of Lewis MacDonald reached its climactic conclusion. The prosecution, led by prosecutor Sarah Orlando, meticulously presented their case against the accused. With an unwavering determination, Orlando presented a compelling argument, backed by a mountain of evidence that left no room for doubt. The trial, which began on October 5, 2005, captivated the true crime geeks' attention. Media outlets reported on every twist and turn of this case. The courtroom was filled with spectators anxiously awaiting the verdict that would determine the fate of Lewis MacDonald. Orlando skillfully guided the jury through the evidence, painting a vivid picture of Lewis's motive, means, and opportunity to commit the heinous crimes. She meticulously presented the forensic evidence, including DNA samples, fingerprints, and ballistics reports, which unequivocally linked Lewis to the murders of both Grace MacDonald and Gregory Araktian. Defense attorney Mike Brockway, renowned for his tenacity and courtroom prowess, mounted a spirited defense on behalf of his client. Brockway sought to cast doubt on the prosecution's case, questioning the reliability of the evidence and suggesting alternative theories. However, his efforts were no match for the overwhelming weight of the evidence against Lewis. Throughout the trial, the victims' families, including Grace's children Kayla and Jackson, now teenagers, sat in the gallery, their eyes filled with a mix of sorrow, anger, and hope for justice. They clung to each other for support, finding solace in the shared experience of seeking closure for their loved ones. The emotional toll of the trial was palpable, as they relived the pain of their losses with each passing day. After weeks of riveting testimony and impassioned arguments from both sides, it was time for the jury to deliberate. On October 28, 2005, the jury reached a unanimous verdict, guilty on all counts. The courtroom erupted in a mix of relief, tears, and quiet satisfaction. Justice had been served. Judge Eugene Choi, known for his no-nonsense approach to sentencing, wasted no time in delivering the final blow. On October 31, 2005, she sentenced Lewis MacDonald to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The courtroom fell silent as the weight of the sentence sank in. As the trial concluded, the media circus surrounding the case slowly dissipated. The families of Grace MacDonald and Gregory Araktian, though forever scarred by their losses, found some measure of closure in the knowledge that the man responsible for their pain would spend the rest of his days behind bars. In the wake of the trial, life gradually resumed its course for all those affected by the harrowing events. The families of the victims found themselves grappling with the arduous task of seeking closure and healing from the indescribable loss they had endured. The suspects, the dedicated law enforcement officials, and the grieving family members were confronted with the challenging endeavor of rebuilding their lives after the profound impact of these crimes. For the victims' families, including Grace's children Kayla and Jackson, now teenagers, the aftermath of the trial was a time of profound sadness and adjustment. They had to navigate the intricate process of accepting the verdict while still grappling with the overwhelming grief that had enveloped their lives. Support groups and counseling sessions became vital lifelines as they sought solace in the company of others who had experienced similar tragedies. These gatherings provided a safe space for them to share their stories, find comfort, and slowly begin to rebuild their shattered lives. Meanwhile, the suspects found themselves facing the consequences of their actions. Lewis MacDonald, the man convicted of the murders, was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Confined within the walls of his prison cell, he was left to confront the weight of his crimes and the irreversible impact they had on the lives of his victims and their loved ones. The trial had brought forth overwhelming evidence against him, leaving no room for doubt in the minds of the jury. As for the law enforcement officials involved in the investigation, the trial marked both a triumph and a turning point. Their tireless efforts had led to the apprehension and conviction of the perpetrator, bringing a sense of justice to the victims' families. However, the toll of the investigation and the emotional weight of the case had undoubtedly taken its toll on them. They, too, sought support and counseling to process their experiences and find ways to move forward. In the wider community, the impact of the trial was felt deeply. Media outlets covered the case, with newspapers publishing stories detailing the shocking revelations that emerged during the trial. Television news programs dedicated segments to the case. The community grappled with a mix of emotions, from shock and horror to relief and a renewed sense of vigilance. The victims' families sought solace in the memories of their loved ones, cherishing the moments they had shared and finding strength in their enduring legacy. The suspects, confined within the confines of their respective fates, were left to confront the consequences of their actions and reflect on the profound impact they had on the lives of others. As life moved forward, the scars left by these crimes would forever remain. The victims' families would forever carry the weight of their loss, while the suspects would grapple with the remorse and regret that accompanied their actions. The community, too, would be forever changed, reminded of the fragility of life and the importance of vigilance in the face of evil. And that concludes our episode on the years-long manhunt that ended in a surprising discovery. Join us next time as we delve into another gripping true crime case. Remember, stay vigilant, and justice will prevail. Hey, true crime case solvers, interested in more real-life murder mysteries? Be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. And do you have any thoughts about this case or have a case of your own you'd like us to investigate? Leave us a comment. Until then, stay safe, true crime case solvers.